Hello, and thank you for joining us for PILI's presentation on our Law Student Internship Program and Graduate Fellowship Program. My name is Brent Page. I'm the Senior Managing Attorney at the Public Interest Law Initiative, or PILI as we affectionately refer to it. So PILI is actually a 40-year-old organization. It started back in 1977 with our internship program, and it started with 12 students at 4 different agencies with the idea to inspire law students to go into a career in public interest law, which wasn't as common at the time as it is now. And then a few years later, in 1983, PILI started our graduate fellowship program, which had a very similar idea to place incoming associates at public interest agencies sponsored by their law firm to also get the bug in them to think more about pro bono service while being at a law firm. So PILI has grown over the years and expanded, and our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower those advancing equal access to justice. So with our law student internship program, PILI interns work 400 hours during the summer for $6,000, and then 200 hours for $3,000 during the school year in either the fall or spring semester. And PILI funds interns that are placed at 30 different legal aid agencies in Illinois, a wide range of types of work. Basically, if there's an area of law that you can think of where people who can't afford an attorney would need an attorney, PILI has an agency that is helping people who need that type of service. So family law, housing, civil rights, immigration, advocacy, a wide range of different types of work. We have 48 positions in the summer, 8 in the fall, and then 8 in the spring. And you apply directly on our website. I'll go more into the application process in a little bit, but you apply on our website, and then the agencies are the ones that receive those applications. They do the interview and make their selection. PILI actually makes the grant to the agencies, so it's not a lump stipend that you would receive. You're paid directly by the agency, however they pay their employees, whether it's bi-monthly or bi-weekly. And the best place to start is to visit www.pili.org to learn more about the different agencies that we have interns working at, and to begin thinking about which agencies you would want to apply to. You can apply to up to 10 different agencies as a PILI intern, and I'll go through the application process a little bit later. And then we have PILI's Graduate Fellowship Program. So with PILI's Graduate Fellowship Program, PILI partners with about a dozen major law firms to offer their incoming associates a PILI Fellowship. The firm sets a compensation amount and the number of fellows that they offer. And fellows work 300 hours in the summer after they graduate and paid directly by their law firm. So for any 3Ls here, you may be thinking, oh, wait a second. Like the most important summer of my life, I'm going to be, studying and preparing for this bar exam, and there's a program for me to work 300 extra hours during the summer. And yes, there's actually a bunch of reasons why it actually benefits you to do the to do the graduate fellowship program while you're studying for the bar exam. First of all, we have not had any fellow that has failed to pass the bar exam. Agencies are super flexible with the timing that fits your schedule, and it actually is beneficial to have some structure to the summer. And you're also working alongside attorneys who have done this before, so that when you get to the point of the summer where you want to give up and you're frustrated with your bar prep, you're working alongside attorneys who can say, you're doing fine, you're doing great. And it helps to put things in perspective as to why you're doing the work, why you're taking the bar exam and studying to be able to have this law license to do great work, which you would be doing at your agency. So we have 65 agencies that are already pre-approved to host PILI Fellows. We also consider new locations on an ad hoc basis. And each year there are more spots than PILI Fellows who apply. So basically all fellows get a placement at an agency that is doing great work. And just like internships, the agencies are the ones that hire and do the interview process and everything for their PILI Fellow. So that all sounds great, being paid by PILI to do great work, either as an intern or as a fellow, but there's also some unique features that PILI has that makes the program even more worthwhile. First, we have an educational programming that we put on each summer and school year. During the summer, we have a day-long orientation at the beginning of the summer, and then 10 weeks of programming. Some are, we do lunchtime seminars, some that are more substantive areas of law, like an update on immigration law or domestic violence, and then some are more professional development. We get public interest attorneys talking about their career path, or new associates talking about how they've been able to incorporate pro bono into their practice, things that we think that you will benefit from both in your summer at PILI, but then also throughout your career as a public interest or pro bono oriented attorney. PILI also puts on a bunch of social and networking opportunities. We've been doing, virtual happy hours, and hopefully this summer we'll all be able to gather again. PILI puts on an annual pro bono reception, and we invite all our PILI interns and fellows to join us. And it's kind of a who's who of public interest law who joins us for this event. So it's a chance to network. And then also the PILI sessions is a great time to meet your fellow interns and fellows that are working at agencies that summer. And then we also have an optional advising program. It's optional, but each year we get around a very high percentage. I think last year we had 98% of interns who participated in the advising program. And that's where we partner you up with a PILI alumni or board member to basically be your mentor for the summer, to talk about, their career path, to share insights that they've learned from their career, and help you through your, whatever process you're going through in law school or as a new associate. All right. So now a little bit more about the application process. So for both the PILI Fellowship Program and the PILI Internship Program, you apply on our website at www.pili.org. The application for both of those is either your resume and cover letter that you submit for each agency that you want to apply to. For both interns and fellows, you can apply to up to 10 different agencies, although most fellows apply to maybe 3 or 4 agencies. And then interns, a lot of interns take all 10, some more like 7 and 8. I was a PILI intern during law school, and I remember, applying to all 10 of my PILI intern agencies. And so, but you can select up to 10. The application is some basic information, your name, your address, contact information, and then you submit a resume and cover letter for each agency. So that's something to be very careful and mindful of when you're applying, is that you want to make sure that you pick the right resume and the right cover letter for each agency. That you don't want to submit the CVLS resume that you prepared or CVLS cover letter for Equip for Equality, because Equip for Equality will see that. And there's no way, the way that our application system is, there's no way to take back that application. What you submit gets sent to the supervisor. So, you can resubmit the application, but they would always know that the first one was an error. So the important dates to be thinking about for any 3Ls, the PILI Fellowship Program opens, the application process opens this Friday on October 15th. We have our spring interns that also opens this week on October 15th. And then for summer interns for 2Ls, the date is November 1st. And then for 1Ls this year, the date is November 15th. So those are the dates when the application system opens. So it's a lot of chance for you all to get your resume and cover letters set and prepared, meet with your career service advisors to help you prepare those and be ready on either those dates or shortly after to submit to your agencies. Some tips that I like to share about the application system. First, apply early. Many agencies are done hiring by January or February. So you really do want to get your applications in as soon as you can. Sometimes you'll see that an agency is no longer listed in the application system, and that's because they have hired their PILI intern already. And so we remove them from the application system. For 1Ls, I feel like my biggest tip is don't apply to all direct service agencies. There are some agencies that work directly with clients that go to court that want to have a law student that can have a 7-Eleven license. And so they'll prioritize a 2L. A 7-Eleven license is a special license that allows you to step up in court under the supervision of an attorney. And so 2Ls can get that, and 1Ls don't have the ability to do that yet. And so I'm not saying, don't apply to direct service agencies if that's what your goal is, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't only apply to direct service agencies. Really look through our agencies on the website and think about which ones make sense with your background, with your interests. Read the mission and kind of what you would be doing as a PILI intern or fellow, and see what speaks to you as what work that the agency is doing is really speaking to you. Each year we get around 400 applications for those 48 slots, so it can be competitive. Don't be discouraged if you don't get it your first year. There's a huge chance that you'll get it again the next year. And it's interesting, after all those 40 interns are hired, we usually get a really good split of 1Ls and 2Ls that are hired by the agencies. Usually it's right around 50-50, the number of 1Ls and 2Ls that are hired. So even though I said, as a 1L, you don't want to apply to all direct service, there's a really good chance as a 1L to get chosen as a PILI intern. And then a plug for the fall and spring internships. That's a really good chance when there isn't as much competition, there isn't as much interns at the agency, and that's a really good time when you can be kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond. Get a more meaningful connection sometimes, and more substantive work working in a semester when there isn't as much interns around and isn't as much competition for work. All right, so just to summarize and give you 3 major reasons to do a PILI internship or fellowship. So first, the experience that you get is very hands-on and practical work. That's actually one of the most common things I hear from interns or fellows, is that they get to do work that they wouldn't have been doing for years working at a for-profit law firm. Depending on where you go, that can mean significant court time, client interaction, research, writing, things that will really give you, experience that you can put on your resume, but also wonderful memories and things that you will, remember well onto your career. There's a huge need for more capacity at these agencies. And so that's why as a PILI intern, as an intern or a fellow, you are sometimes, as long as once a supervisor kind of knows that you're able to do a certain amount of work, that you've proven yourself and your abilities, there's no telling what you might do as an intern or fellow at the agency, stepping up in court, preparing the brief, etc. And then the other benefits that I talked about, our advising program, the educational component. You're, as a PILI intern or fellow, you join the class of over 4,000 PILI alumni. They're in private practice, legal aid, government, judges, they're at corporate legal departments, law firms. And it really does mean something, especially in the Illinois community, to have been a PILI intern or PILI fellow. It shows a commitment to public service and pro bono from the beginning of your law school career. And then last but really not least is the impact that you would be doing. Like I said, there's a huge need for help in legal aid. And so your experience will truly impact people's lives. You could help someone from losing their home, help someone who's going through domestic violence, move impactful pieces of legislation, really important work that is really necessary. And really the next step is to visit our website at pili.org to go through the different agencies that you might be interested in working at, and getting your resumes and cover letters together, reaching out to your career services at your law school to meet with them for their help in crafting your resume and cover letter, and then applying when the application system opens on those dates or shortly after. And so with that, I will turn it over to, we'll go first, Jasmine Anderson, who is a PILI intern this summer. Then we have Mary Hannon, who is a PILI fellow, and Christina Hadley, who's a staff attorney at Equip for Equality. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and then Jasmine, if you're ready, we'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Brent. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jasmine Anderson. I am a 2L at Loyola Law School, and this past summer, like Brent said, I was a PILI intern at the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. So just to tell you a little bit about that experience, I participated in the full program. Unfortunately, I was remote, which I know is a pain that all of us went through in this past year. So that presented its own challenges, and I'll speak a little bit to that and how your experience in person may be different. But that said, LCBH, Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, was a fantastic host. I'm still in contact with multiple attorneys there, and PILI really facilitated a fantastic summer for me. So as far as the application process, I think, unfortunately, I'm a little bit of an oddball coming into this. I came into this quite late. One of my advisors through law school contacted me about PILI. I missed the boat and didn't come to this meeting, so you all are already a step ahead of me. But talked to me about LCBH because she knew I was interested in housing law and also interested in investigating a little bit more litigation work. So I quickly applied the minute that I knew about it. Truly, as far as application processes go, put your best into it like you would always, but this is a relatively easier one. And it all happened very quickly on my end. So the wonderful thing is that while you are applying through PILI, while you do get all the advantages of that support system, very quickly I was funneled to talking to someone from LCBH and interviewed with the person who ended up being my direct supervising attorney. I think one of the difficult parts of working in public interest law is the many facets of how you function as an attorney. And this is also coming from someone who's still in law school and still has a lot to experience, of course. But working in a lot of these, especially direct service agencies, you're filling a lot of different facets. There is the research component to it. There is the direct client service component to it. A lot of times you will be working within a certain interest of law. So for me, that was housing. And there are certainly many other options for you through PILI. So keeping up with news from that. And right off the bat, my supervising attorney was so supportive in directing me toward how to maybe approach projects, how to delegate my time. They really gave me a couple of long-term projects, so working on long briefs and motions, and then a constant stream of research questions. And like Brent said, once you begin taking those projects, once you can prove that you can write, you can do research, you can take charge of your time and organization, you will start getting contacts from all over the agency. The attorneys will get news, we have an intern, she's happy to do work, and you're never going to be without something to do. So that was a really wonderful experience in the sense that I was able to work with at least 5 or 6 different attorneys on various projects. Let's see, I made some notes for myself of things I wanted to mention. Okay, so one of the wonderful things about my experience over the summer was that even though I was working remotely, I did a lot of direct client service work, and that was primarily 2 different projects. So one was doing what we call callbacks. So people call the agency and we have to call them back and do a basic intake process. I really encourage you, if you are interested or think you might be interested in any kind of direct client service work, to dive in right away. It is both a skill building area of law that, the sooner you get on it, the better. And also will really immediately force you to become immersed within your organization, within how they deal with problems, with the kind of the issues and solutions at your immediate fingertips, that ways we can help clients. So more than anything, I think that really helped me become immersed in the issues that I was dealing with all summer. And also was just hard, but also really inspirational to be talking with people who are experiencing very difficult issues like housing insecurity on a daily basis. Hard to listen to, but also really reminds you why you're doing this work. And every now and then you do have an answer for someone. You are able to tell someone, I can help you with that. Let me get more information from you. And that just really makes their day. It's not why we do it all the time. Obviously, you are not able to help everyone, but those moments that you do have that answer are really life-changing and keep you going. So the other program I was really working in was a mitigation program really set up by the courts. So 3 days a week, I was actually sitting in housing court, and we would get clients sent in before their first, or between their first and their second hearing. And we were essentially providing free legal aid. For those who don't know, there's very low representation for tenants in housing court, and it's a real problem. It's a problem that the courts through this program are trying to help with. And it was really exciting to be really at the center of that action. You get a real sense of the civil procedures. So applying what you're learning, coming straight out of 1L. And again, will really facilitate strong working relationships with the attorneys on your team. So I know I mentioned a couple times that some of this direct client service work can be really exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting, as well as just taxing in time, just like so much of legal work is. And PILI was really a great help in so much of that, both through the fact that I did have that supervising attorney, that my mentor for the summer was a real help in putting some of that in perspective, but also we did some great programming in lunch discussions. I think we had a whole lunch discussion on healthy habits, which was so helpful to me. Not something I expected to really need going into the summer, but it really teaches you how you can do this work sustainably for yourself, which is something that every attorney, I think, needs to confront at a certain point, especially working in public interest law. And yeah, I just want to finish off with just saying I will drop my email in the chat. Please feel free, whether you're at Loyola or not, to contact me. Happy to talk about more about my experience, more about housing law, more about some litigation work. Whether you're a 1L or a 2L, I really encourage you to apply for this position. Not every, there's such a variety of experiences within at your fingertips right now. So even if you are not interested in direct client service work, I still encourage you to look through the agencies, see what's there, and yeah, good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Jasmine. Mary, want to tell us about your experience as a PILI Fellow?
Sure. Thanks, Brent. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Hannon. I was a 2021 PILI Fellow this summer. So I graduated from DePaul Law this past May, and I just passed the bar. So for anyone who is looking to do a fellowship, you can absolutely do both bar study and the 300 required hours, probably even more. I did a little bit more than 300 by the end of it. So you'll be able to make it work. Trust me on that. So my fellowship was with Chicago Volunteer Legal Services, which is one of the I think the largest volunteer-oriented legal service provider in Chicago. So a majority of their cases end up getting outsourced to attorneys throughout the city who, you know, like me now, are in, you know, private practice and other law firms. But they do handle some cases in-house. So they have a full staff of staff attorneys that are kind of split up by different practice areas. My fellowship fell within their family law group. So I had the opportunity to work on 4 to 5 cases that were my own within adoption court and as well as divorce. So the best thing was the level of ownership that you get over your work when you're in these fellowships. Like Jasmine and Brent kind of indicated, there's so much work to be done through these organizations. So you really get, as soon as you can show, you know, that you're up to the task, they will pile it on you and give you complete ownership over your task. So I think that's something totally different from my experiences prior in private practice, is that there's less, maybe less hand-holding, not in a bad way. Of course, they're there to support you, but it's not, they're not kind of breathing down your neck and editing and everything to the minutia, the littlest details. So you get a lot of brevity with your cases and how you handle them. So going back to deciding where to apply, I know Brent said fellows usually only do maybe 3 to 4 applications. I used my full 10. So I was really interested before I learned about PILI, and I had been working as a patent agent in a IP boutique law firm in Chicago. So I was there full time and in school part time. So I didn't really have a ton of opportunities to do public interest. I didn't have time to do an internship during law school because I was working. And so this was really my first opportunity to fully dive into this. And I really wanted the opportunity, not only for, you know, the extra stipend that my firm provided, but really for the experience more than anything. I knew coming in, I'm at my firm now, Sidley Austin, and their IP litigation group. And I knew coming in that I was not going to have court time. I was not going to have those opportunities to get up in court and talk to a judge and or argue a motion or anything like that within the first handful of years that I'm here. So I really wanted that opportunity, but I didn't, like Brent said, I didn't focus only on those kind of direct services firm or organizations like CVLS. I also applied to, you know, the ACLU as an option, Equip for Equality, I know applied to them. There's a handful of great organizations. And like Brent said, also the good thing is kind of the fellows get a pick. Like I think I put all my applications in on the first day that application opened, and I had already gotten response emails for interviews from maybe 3 to 4 of those in the first couple hours after submitting, which was great. And so you'll get to be able to talk to a lot of people and find the right opportunity for you. And the reason I chose CVLS after talking to a few was for that direct litigation experience, direct court experience, direct client experience that I knew I was going to get there. So that's kind of why I ended up where I ended up. The most rewarding experience I had this summer was working on an adoption case that I had where the child had been with her grandparents pretty much throughout COVID and even before that. And so they wanted to adopt her, and I jumped onto that kind of right at the beginning and worked on filing and then appeared in court with them. And then eventually, I think I didn't end up getting to be around when it's finalized because I think it gets finalized in about a week. But I got everything prepared up until then, and just getting that direct client experience where they're so appreciative of the work that you do, which is something you don't see in private practice from clients pretty much ever. So it's really nice to be able to work directly with the individuals that you're helping and get to know them on a personal level and really help them and see the gratefulness and the actual difference you're making in these people's lives. So that was definitely the most rewarding. I think that PILI also has, I think Jasmine was talking about some of the lunch seminars that they do kind of outside of your agency. So this is where all the PILI interns and fellows will get together for lunch, you know, once a month or a couple times a month about a different topic. Jasmine mentioned the kind of how to manage your work-life balance and how to manage coping skills. They also had some on bias training. There's some about understanding clients, which is really important for if you've got kind of private practice experience. Understanding how to talk to the clients you'll experience at a public interest is such a skill. It's a completely different way that you approach clients and things in private practice. So that was very helpful seminar for me. And then another interesting one they did was about Britney Spears, her conservatorship, and had in some attorneys actually from CVLS who work on adult guardian ad litem cases talk about those issues. So you really do get a mix of those kind of professional legal skill building seminars, as well as some more kind of personal, like this learn your soft skills of being a lawyer. And let's see, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to add. I don't think so. I mean, I could talk more about managing the bar real quick.
What about, how did you kind of plan out your schedule?
Yeah, so CVLS has fellows every summer, so they're very, very flexible. And I think pretty much all of the agencies are going to be flexible and understanding. So the most common that I know that people did is if they start kind of, end of May or after graduation, you'll start maybe the second to last week of May or early June with your fellowship. And the way I balanced it was I worked part-time through from the beginning of my fellowship, which was I think second to last week of May through the end of June. I worked part-time at the agency, and I worked part-time on the bar. So that came to be about 100 hours before the bar or before the end of June. Then I took July completely off from the agency, and I focused solely on bar study. And then when I came back full-time at the beginning of August, and I did the remaining 200 hours in about 5 weeks. So that's how we did it. I think that's how a handful of the fellows do it. And the agencies are completely flexible. That's just kind of what worked the best for them. So with CVLS and with the cases that I was on, it actually kind of worked out perfectly where We would do all the drafting for the petitions in that first 100 hours and get those filed and served on the parties. And then you're just waiting for the service, to expire before you're going to default the opposing party or, the next steps anyway. So a lot of the times we'd get the service out and then we'd have 30 days before we could do anything anyway. So then I came back in August and those cases were back waiting for me for the next steps. So that's how I did it. It was not stressful at all. And like Brent said, it was actually nice to have some structure because it's really easy to get burnout, I think, on bar study. And luckily, I had something else to kind of keep me occupied and like kind of refresh and take some time, some breathing time to really let bar stuff sink in. And then if I needed to get away from it for a little bit, I would work on my CVLS work as well. So it's completely doable. You shouldn't be stressed about that at all. Everyone has been through the bar. They understand what it's like to study for the bar. So they're going to be completely flexible and understanding and accommodating to whatever kind of schedule that you need.
Great. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah,
and then Christina Hadley from Equip for Equality, who was also a panelist on our Britney Spears session that Mary mentioned. And Christina was also a PILI intern during law school. So she's also a PILI alum.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Brent. It's great to be here. Yes, as Brent mentioned, I am a staff attorney at Equip for Equality, and we are the protection and advocacy organization for people with disabilities in Illinois, which means we have a federal, we're part of a federal network. There's actually one agency like us in every state. And in some states, it's an agency within the state government. And in other states, like here in Illinois, and actually in most states now, we're our own separate nonprofit organization. And so, yes, I was a PILI during my first summer at the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. And I also went to what's now UIC Law School, where I also worked at the Fair Housing Clinic. And so at Equip for Equality, we have 3 units. And I think in the summer, each unit has interns. And so our 3 units are one, we have our civil rights team, which I am on, and we do a whole variety of work. We do everything from discrimination issues in employment, public accommodations, government services, to criminal justice work, to helping folks get out of institutions, to adult guardianship cases, which what I work on, as well as I also work on various issues of rights of folks who are in facilities or who are facing abuse and neglect in facilities. We also have our other unit is our special education unit, where we work with children and families on working with school districts on their special education plans. And our third unit is our investigations unit, which, there we do, more systemic investigations instead of more individual work on monitoring folks that are in facilities, helping with the state to address transition planning, and we also have a Social Security representative payee program where we have grants from the Social Security Administration to monitor and make sure that people who manage individuals' Social Security benefits are managing them correctly. So that's just a broad overview of what we do. But I know in all of our units, PILI interns and fellows are really a great help to us. I think in the special education team and in the civil rights team, we have interns kind of all year round. And then we have fellows in the summer, but we probably have the most in the summer on both teams. Though I will say we do receive a large amount of applications. So, you know, like Brent mentioned, if you are really interested in working with us, and you know, this might be the case in other organizations too, it's always a good idea to consider maybe applying and doing it in you know, the fall or spring semesters. And, you know, if you want to stay on, you know, longer, you know, I think we are always welcome to have repeat folks back, because then you've already gone through our, you know, our internal training processes, and you know our system, and you know, you can really do even more work the longer that you're with us. I guess the other thing to keep in mind when applying for our agency, and probably with any agency, is that, you know, it always helps to have like some sort of personal connection to the issue. So for us, you know, if you have a personal connection to disability rights, you know, it's always good to let us know about that, either if you've had some, you know, work experience in the past, if you have, you know, a family member who has a disability, you know, or if this is, you know, just a professional goal of yours, if this is an area that you really want to get involved in, you know, and you have a reason for that. You know, I think that really strengthens your application. I know for me, you know, I worked on some disability issues during my PILI internship, and at the Fair Housing Clinic. So, you know, that was a professional goal of mine, and I had work experience in the area. And so, you know, those are some things that I raised in my job application to Equip for Equality. I guess otherwise, I can let you know some things that interns, you know, interns help us out with and work on, really, and fellows, really a large variety of things. I think like Jasmine mentioned, we receive just so many requests for help, and we have a pretty involved intake process, you know, where we try to gather as much information from folks to really help us evaluate their case and whether we can help them. So, you know, we really rely on interns and fellows to help us call and contact folks. And, you know, also, we have a lot of cases, you know, a lot of things that we have to like look into and investigate. And so, you know, we really rely on folks' excellent, you know, case law research skills and things and, you know, records review to help us, you know, really take the time to look into these issues and figure out what to do next. I know that during COVID, interns and fellows have really helped us with like a lot of excellent research, which has led to some advocacy, you know, with the state on making sure that, you know, health, for instance, with like healthcare rationing issues and people with disabilities, to make sure that, you know, people with disabilities aren't discriminated against in healthcare settings, and refused healthcare when resources are tight. I guess some other just pieces of advice to keep in mind when you are working at an agency. I always tell folks to, you know, if there's an experience that you really want to have at the agency, you know, let your supervisor know. You know, we want to make sure that your experience is, that you get the most out of it as you want, and that it is really worthwhile for you. So, if you really want to go into court, or if you really want to write a motion, or if there is, a type of case that you really want to work on, let your supervisor know so they can make sure to look out for opportunities for you, and, connect you, with the attorney at the office who is working on that. I guess the other thing that, that we recommend, that I recommend is, it's always, especially with, things being virtual. I know our interns and fellows have all been virtual. Our offices are for the most part still mainly virtual. It's just really good to keep in touch with your supervisors on a project. Make sure you're meeting deadlines, and even if an assignment doesn't have like a deadline, just to kind of touch base every so often. If something else comes up that they might not be aware of, just let them know that. I think time management, and staying in touch is really important when you're working remotely. The other thing is really, you're only with that, oftentimes interns and fellows are only with us for a short period of time, unfortunately. So, you just want to make sure that whatever, you have done and the things that you have done are documented, clearly in our case files, or, in wherever, case notes and things are documented. So, it's clear, what you did and what you found out. And then, when you leave, what should be done, what you did and what needs to be done next. So no one needs to kind of repeat the work that you did. Otherwise, I guess we always, if interns and fellows want to come back, I think we always welcome them to come back. We also have like an auxiliary board, which was started by former interns and fellows, maybe about 6-7 years ago. And so that's one way that interns and fellows stay involved. They plan, and even during COVID, they've planned some fundraising events for us. I think earlier this spring, we had like a virtual Second City fundraiser, which they planned, which was really fun. And in the past, they've planned bar nights. And so there's, I know the special ed clinic also has, they rely on a lot of volunteers to handle their cases. And so I know a lot of fellows continue to volunteer with the special education clinic. And so that's a way to stay involved. We do also have like postgraduate fellowships at our agency through the SCADN and Equal Justice Works programs. And so I know, that's if these are issues that you're really interested in, and that might be something that you're interested in, I think it's a great way to get to know us by trying to intern with us beforehand. So I'm not sure if there's anything else you want me to touch on, Brent.
Hi, Christina. So now I'll just open it up to questions. If anyone has questions for me about the program, or Jasmine, Mary, or Christina about their experience or perspective, either from the chat or even turn on your video and ask a question. Okay. Shay or Maureen, I don't think I see Kim here, but anything that we missed or anything else that you would want to add that'll be good for the students to hear?
I can't really think of anything. I think you guys did an amazing job. I would just say, you know, try and get your materials to your advisor early, so that they can make sure to give the feedback and attention to detail, so that everything is ready to roll on time. But yeah, I think there is a question, so I'll hop off.
Yeah, that's great. So Kimya, I guess in the chat asked, was it difficult to balance being a 1L with working? Which I can say that normally 1Ls wouldn't do a PILI internship until the summer. And that's also why we have the November 15th date to apply a little bit later, to give you a little bit more time to acclimate to law school and give you a little bit more of a chance to get your resume and cover letter put together. Any other thoughts? Jasmine, maybe, as a PILI intern?
I think Erickson has his hand up.
Oh, Erickson, I've never used the raised hand feature. Please.
I know. Zoom 101, I just learned it too. My question was more about if Mary or Jasmine want to talk about their experience as 1L in those summer internships, and just kind of like the transition into those and learning on the job or on the fly. How did you all feel doing that? And what was that like?
Jasmine, if you want to take it, go for it. Because I was working I had a job because I was part-time. So maybe you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that both Christina and Mary could speak to this a little bit from their own experience. But as far as being a PILI intern, you know, your first summer out of 1L is, to me, it was like such a challenge. If you just are so stressed coming out of it, you learned so much in 1L, and it was a challenge of, you know, how much am I going to apply from this knowledge to what I maybe want to be doing, and I found that as you know, those core classes came up in really surprising ways. So I actually had multiple contract questions. Civil procedure came up in multiple of the research projects I was doing for attorneys. So as far as that, it was fulfilling because it did really seem like it was tying into some of what I had just done for the last year. It is an adjustment. To me, it was a welcome one to going back to working. I worked before between undergrad and coming to law school. It was kind of nice to return to that clear work schedule. You know, law school is 24/7. And it was almost kind of nice to, you know, turn that off on weekends sometimes. And, you know, it didn't seem like a terribly tough transition. It was hard getting used to the culture, but that's kind of, you know, symptomatic of starting at any new job, any new environment. And I can't think of any other huge challenges I felt particular to, you know, coming out of 1L. But Mary and Christine, I'm curious to see or to hear what you have.
Yeah, I would say too, it's now 10 years since I graduated from law school, so I'm trying to remember. But I also remember it being like a really welcome transition. Like Jasmine said, like I also worked at a law firm as like a paralegal in between college and going to law school for a few years. And so, yeah, I was really, you know, I was really excited to like step back into the working world and have more of like a 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And so for me, that was a welcome change. And I think it just also helped for me, you know, for me to actually like be working with people and, you know, talking to them about, you know, what really, you know, their problems were and gathering information. You know, just things just seemed more concrete to me than, just trying to wrap your head around all these concepts, like, just trying to solve an immediate problem. I'll say that, yeah, I think I remember the PILI training programs being excellent, and I think that they've gotten even better since I was there. But Equip for Equality, we also have like a pretty, we also have kind of like weekly training sessions for all of our interns in the summer, where, we also kind of talk about, we have like two types of sessions. One we call our like brown bag sessions, where people like talk about, different, kind of like different issues, kind of like personal issues to kind of like professional development type issues. And we also have like substantive kind of like legal training. So I'm sure maybe, other agencies do that too, but those things kind of also help with the transition. And I don't know, I remember I just like during my internship too, I just like loved going to meetings, like, just like hearing, how people were, working on issues on individual and like policy levels. And, so it's just kind of nice, just to kind of be a sponge and, just observe and hear how people are working in the world. I really enjoyed that.
Great. Any other final questions before we close out? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to put my email address in the chat in case anyone has other questions they want to reach out. My email is also all over PILI's website on our internship and fellowship pages. So I encourage you to visit pili.org, go through the different agencies and apply on October 15th or November 1st or November 15th, whichever one is applicable for you. So thank you all for joining us. And thank you to Jasmine, Mary, and Christina.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brent. Thanks, everybody.